Welcome to the Ambitious Broker Podcast, where elite real estate professionals share their secrets to success, discuss topics impacting their industry, and gain professional development insights. Enjoy today's episode.
Stephanie brought up something that was interesting because I was asking her the question I was going to ask you, and that is, when did you know that you were special? And I don't mean to embarrass you, but it's no secret now that you're very good at what you do. And so, at what point in time did you actually say, I can be pretty good at this?
Being pretty good was probably in the first few years, but feeling like I was doing something, to use your word, special, or that probably took a while. Maybe 5 or 6 years because the first years of my real estate career were very difficult. It was a declining market for 7 straight years.
Right. And
there was a lot of pain, and there was a lot of, trying to help people get from point A to point B.
Earthquakes. Everything.
I mean, there was the Gulf War, there was earthquakes, there was fires, there was floods, and of course, most of all, there was just no equity.
Right.
So if you weren't willing to call on expired listings, then you were sunk.
Right.
Or a buy owner. Buy owners never sold on their own in the 90s. They just didn't.
Right.
So
you shifted and you made those.
You
calls.
always shift. You have to shift to where the business is. I mean, right now is a complete seller's market. You know well enough that is not going to continue forever. Mm-hmm. It's going to change. Now, we don't know when it'll change, but when it does, you got to shift.
Right.
Yeah.
Adjust. So she said that, talking about, again, to new people, she said that, she felt like she would walk out in the ocean and then the wave would knock her back. And she'd walk out in the office, the wave would knock her back. And she says that all of a sudden one day, her language was, you got to get past the wave. You got to get out there past the wave. And there's a moment. And in real estate, I always said that the cancer for real estate agents is insecurity. Mm-hmm. And that to get past insecurity, there has to be some consistency in the things that you do, mm-hmm. so that you can one day say, I know if I do that, this is going to happen. I know if I do that, this is going to happen. So you get a sense of, I push the buttons and I'm in control. Did you feel that, or do you think that there's a sense where a time, I noticed it with farmers. The farmers that came into our company, I noticed that 3 or 4 years, they would basically do the same thing every month, and they'd get results. Same thing every month the next year, they'd get results. And sooner or later, they start realizing that, hey, there's cause and effect here. Mm-hmm. I do this. And once you get that sense of that I'm in control now, then all of a sudden the security goes away, and that becomes kind of that gets you past the wave.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly just think, going back to what I said about writing down your goals, I just think when your goals are more important than whatever little speed bumps you. I mean, 29 years in this business, and it's no different from any of the other people you talk to that are veterans, we still have major frustrations. We still get knocked down by the wave. We still have things go sideways that we didn't see coming, or a client get upset. And it hurts us to our core.
Yeah.
Okay? That's how you know you're good at this business, is when you care that much. It's a real double-edged sword, because some agents don't care at all.
Right.
And I would suggest those agents will never make it long-term and will never be really successful.
Right.
But the bad side of it is you're going to feel it. I don't know that you ever don't have those waves or get past, but what happens is you can see them coming a little better, right? And you know how to navigate them when they hit you.
Yeah, that's a good
right?
point.
So, like for me, I had something completely unexpected happen yesterday, and as soon as I realized, oh, this is happening, I was able to segue very quickly. When you're new in the business, you don't know how to do that.
Yeah,
you don't have the experience.
That's
right. To know
knock down, jump up.
Yeah. So I think. Do I know how to get beyond the waves? Yeah. I mean, honestly, the way to get beyond the waves is simply to avoid all sense of rejection. And I think that's a mistake. If you're going to face rejection, you're going to get hit by waves every day.
Right.
Right. And so it's just a matter of, how do you deal with it? How do you answer the objection, or how do you say goodbye to the client in a graceful way, or whatever the wave is that's just knocked you down? When you're new in the business, I simply think you have to be mentally prepared. I remember I had this, I lived my life by 3x5 cards, okay? I always have, since I was in college. And I had this 3x5 card on my goal board, and it said, think Windermere, which at the time was the nicest home you could own in Santa Clarita. It was, and the idea that I could even have this home was so incomprehensible. It was like a $500,000 home at the time. And what's funny is when you're in the middle of getting knocked down by these waves and you're building your business, all of a sudden, I never forget, I bought one right just like as a side thing, just to make some money on. And I remember thinking to myself, isn't that funny? I just bought this home without even looking at it, didn't even think about it, for $800,000. And I didn't even think twice because I'm so busy doing all these other stuff. That's what you want to get to, Roger. You want to get to the point where you're so busy, you're talking to so many people, you're working on so many things.
You're not laboring on decisions.
These waves, they're not this big. They hit you in the calf.
Right.
And you just kind of, okay, well, so that deal didn't come together. All right, look, how are we going to fix the problem and move on? I mean, there's so much happening in your world that nothing stops you from moving forward.
Right.
And that's the problem with somebody, no offense to them, doing 3-4 transactions. You have a wave hit you, and you're going to let it knock you down for 2 months.
Right.
You're going to sit there in misery. You have to be busier than that. You simply have to be busier than that. You say the cancer is insecurity. I say the cancer is work ethic. People are simply not willing to work.
Yeah.
You know?
So tell me your 3x5 card. That's kind of interesting. So is it a goal you put on there?
Yeah. So
is it what you're going to do today?
This is exactly what I have to accomplish today. These days, it's less motivational. It's probably more, the people that I have to talk to that day.
Right.
There's usually 5-7 people that I have to talk to, and there's usually 5-7 clients that I have to talk to. Yeah,
so
like
you're putting major things to keep it in front of you.
Negotiate a contract or follow up with a buyer who didn't get their offer through. Tell a seller when we're going to be able to meet to go through offers. Set a listing appointment. The big stuff.
And you do it with a 3x5 card.
Every day I write. Well, I get up early, so every day I go
very
through
technical.
And write this.
Very technical, Neal.
Well, I mean, I still, I have a calendar that's in my phone, but I also still keep a paper calendar. I like to visualize things. I like to see, okay, here's what I'm working on. Here's my week. And to me, bigger is better.
Right.
So, it works for me. It's old school, but
So,
whatever.
It's interesting to me. You and Rod are long time Mike Ferry guys.
Yeah.
And I think it's impressive when you guys start getting into 7-figure income and you're still going back to those guys. Tell me about that. What is that?
I think it's a commitment, and there may even be some fear involved, but maybe not. I have to think about it.
Is it going to church for you?
Well, for some it is. For me, it's a commitment to a schedule. It's a commitment, like every Wednesday, I have my coaching call at 11 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, here's the truth. Do I need to have a coaching call every Wednesday at 11 o'clock for the last 24 years? Maybe not. But every week I do my numbers, every week. How many people I talked to, how many appointments I went on, how many I took. I look at the ones I didn't take. Why didn't I take them? Right? Now, do I have to do that to sell 200 homes in a year? Maybe not. But that's just to me what the job is.
Yeah.
That's the right way to do it, because if you don't pay attention, some little thing that you started forgetting to do, some little question you stopped asking along the way, that's why I still role play, right? I still role play. Do I need? I can role play in my sleep. Okay, right. I've role played for so long. Right. But if whether you're new, veteran, or anywhere in between, if you're not constantly working on that, you're not telling yourself what you're supposed to be doing every day, which is talking to people and specifically asking them questions.
I tell agents today, I believe today that being a master of presentation is probably more important than it ever has been.
It's always been important.
Always been important.
It's certainly not any less important than ever, so you're probably right.
Yeah. I mean, what happens is you have so much confliction today. You have the internet. You have too many people competing for the story. And your ability to communicate today, I think, is and give a good presentation. So to your point, the role playing and going over and over doing. Do you do that with someone?
Yeah, of course.
You do?
Yeah.
So you sit down with someone and say, hey, listen to my presentation.
8:15 well, today is Tuesday, so I don't role play on Tuesday, but tomorrow I'll role play and it'll be whatever my role play partner wants to cover. It could be answers to objections, like we're role playing commission a lot lately because that's becoming a big deal. In the old days, it might have been, I only want to give you a 90-day listing.
Right.
And Roger, I can appreciate that. And our company policy is a 6-month listing, but let me explain why. And then you answer the objection. Yeah, it could be anything. I mean, these days, somebody could say, I only want to give you a 30-day listing. You say, fine.
Right. Exactly.
We're good.
Yeah.
8 days is fine. No problem. For you, okay. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's, it's part of the job.
So you hooked up with Mike very early. You told me
Day
like the
one.
first 5 years early. Okay,
Day
first
one.
day
First
one.
event I ever went to was a Superstar retreat.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then what was it that spoke to you about him?
Logic.
About him that spoke to you. Let's say.
Good salesmanship. I love a good salesperson. When I go into a clothes store, if I got a good salesperson,
I know.
Here's my wallet.
I'm the same way.
Yeah,
I'll
take them all.
It's just respect, right?
It is
Yeah,
respect, but it's also
absolutely, yeah.
appreciation that they know what they're doing.
That's what I meant, yeah,
I want them
exactly.
to help me make a decision.
Right.
When somebody calls you to list their house, they want you to help them make the decision.
Right.
Right?
Right.
When somebody calls you about a house to buy it, they want you to help lead them to a decision.
Yeah.
We're always we're either dominant or submissive in any interaction that we have as human beings.
Yeah.
Most buyers and sellers want you, at least at some point in the transaction and the presentation, to be dominant, to say, Roger, here's what we're going to do. And if we do it this way, we're going to get to Austin. Is that what you want? It is? Great. They want to be led.
Right.
95% of the time, that's what they're looking for. So yeah, I mean, we appreciated Mike because Mike spoke very directly to how to build your business, how to do it profitably. He wasn't big on spending a lot of money on stuff, as you know, and a very strong work ethic. And if you're willing to work and you follow what he teaches, I mean, honestly, I'm a pretty good example of it because I literally followed everything he said. I stopped doing open houses when he told me to stop doing them. I transitioned into, how to be better on the phone as opposed to knocking on doors when I wasn't getting the same results. I mean, everything he said, to some extent, I tried to incorporate. There was some stuff he said, that's not for me, but I never deviated from the basic.
I think it's a really good point too. And I tell people this sometimes, and that is that back to this mixed message thing that clients may have, calling all around and get the internet and all this various. The same thing was true when people would walk into real estate offices. They're so big today, a lot of them, that you can get so many mixed messages from people. I tell people, go in, and the only human being to listen to would be Neal Weichel. Just shut up. Don't listen to anyone, because most of them are going to give you bad advice. And there's a lot of ways to get to a certain place. You're better off to hang on to what Neal says and just go down that path, because he's been there. He'll get you there. And I think that's true. I've seen that's true with like guys like Mike, because there's other guys out there that are teaching a whole different kind of philosophy.
Many,
and probably they're all good, But the point is that you went in, you kind of locked into something that spoke to you, and you stuck with it. I think it's important advice to people.
Well, it's important for one reason. The problem with agents, and I've seen it, is they go to Mike and then they maybe don't do exactly what he says, and maybe things don't work out the way. You know what? I'll go listen to Brian Buffini now, and Brian has a wonderful program. I'll go follow Workman. I'll go follow Tom Ferry. I'll go follow whoever. I don't even know who they all are. I just know there's hundreds of them. And the point I'm making is at the end of the day, somebody has to work. Right? It's the problem I have with the whole multi-level thing in our industry. And I understand the appeal of it, and I understand some people can grow a very nice business, and God bless them, I hope they do. Some of them are good friends of mine. But at the end of the day, somebody has to sell a house, right? For there to be any kind of commission to be distributed in a certain way. And if you start listening to this trainer and that idea and this broker and that agent and whatever, and you get all these ideas about how to do it, look, just go to work.
Right.
Write a schedule. Write some goals and go to work. And if you do that and you don't listen to all the noise, because there's plenty of it, and you just stay focused on your clients, you're going to get what you want.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Don't confuse yourself. Don't make life more complicated than it is. This is a very, very challenging business that is also a very simple business. It's not a complicated business. Now, the contracts can be complicated and some of the legal stuff can get complicated. But if you just stay focused on the client, the person who wants to buy a home, the person who wants to sell a home, the person who wants to sell a home and buy a home simultaneously, right? Person that might want to buy a new construction home,
right?
Person that might have to go through a probate situation, person that might have a family member that needs some assistance because they're going to pass, and what kind of. If you can just focus on people that are involved in real estate transactions and let all that other noise be away, you're going to be fine.
What'd your day look like when you say we're in your second year? I mean, you woke up at 2:00 in the morning, and you meditated, and then you went to the gym, and then you knocked on door.
I honestly don't remember that far back, but yeah, I got up early. I probably got up at 5:30 today. I got up at 4:30.
Today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I figured out that extra hour there is highly productive. So, and I like getting up early, so it wasn't difficult for me. I go to bed early. Anyway, so yeah, there'd always be some exercise. Has been from the beginning, because you need to be, if you can't have something, you just won't have enough energy. The job requires a lot of energy.
Right.
So I would be at my office at 8:00. Early on, it was expireds first, then lead follow up. Then clients and existing listings.
So your early days, you would spend.
I'm on the phone till noon.
Till noon. So you would prospect in the morning.
Yeah.
Half your day would be prospecting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then in the afternoon, I'd go see people or preview property or show property or whatever.
Right.
I think it's really important, especially now, and I know a lot of agents may not agree with this. If you're not out there feeling the pulse of what's happening, especially right now, listing agents especially, of which I am one, 90% of my time is spent listing property. Very rarely do I show property. But if you're not out there doing that at least a little bit, you don't understand as a listing agent what's going on. Because what's going on right now is insanity. Okay? People are paying prices for homes. It's insanity.
Yeah.
There is no logic to it. And so that's problematic. Now, if somebody's watching this a year from now, they may laugh at that and go, what the hell was February of 2021 like? But right now, and this happens, it happens where nothing sells. If you don't know how to work in that kind of a thing, if you're not out there in the field, then you're not doing, what your clients.
It's an interesting dilemma right now, isn't it? I mean, like you said, where we see what's happening to prices, and they seem to be crazy.
They are,
and so now you represent a buyer who is paying a crazy price.
Possibly.
Yeah. So it's an interesting kind of dilemma to go back and forth. And how do you advise a buyer today about that?
Well, I get asked this question all the time, which is, Neal, is the market going to crash? And the answer is no. But let me explain why. And this is, again, going back to your value add and experience and all that. Somebody said to me, Neal, this feels a lot like when the market crashed. And I answered in this way. Psychologically, this is exactly like 2006. Buyers bidding like crazy, multiple offers on property, no sense of logic, no sense of pullback, just whatever it takes. I just want to get the house. So psychologically, it's very similar.
Right.
It's just economically, it's completely different.
You're right.
Everybody has equity. In order for a market to crash, you have to have people that are upside down. Well, in 2007, in the Santa Clarita Valley, 80% of the homes that were listed were either short sales or foreclosure.
Right.
Why? Because everybody was leveraged to the hilt. Nobody's leveraged to the hilt anymore.
Right.
I mean, some are, but it's percentage-wise, I think it's nationwide at 6%. Right?
Yeah.
It's not 20% or 40% or 80% or something ridiculous.
Right.
So the economics are completely different. The psychology is similar. So here's what's going to happen. Either interest rates are going to go up or supply is going to go up. And when that happens, the market's going to level out. It might even give a little back.
But the market leveling out, you're really referencing pricing.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right, not the number of homes being sold. And I remind people all the time, we're in the real estate business. Prices going up or down, little effect on us. It's how many houses are selling. That's our market.
Yeah. So in my market, and this goes back to being a master of your marketplace and really knowing it, what's going to change the market in the Santa Clarita Valley is all the new construction coming. That is a straight supply and demand business. That is a straight supply issue.
Right.
And so if you're smart, like to think I am, you reach out to everybody in your database and say, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what you need. So I did a video last week from one of the developments that I think very highly of. And I was there. I know the guy who's the division president, fortunately. I said, hey, will you do a tour and show me what you're building here? And if it's okay, I'll do a quick little interview with you and we'll put it out to the world.
Beautiful.
It'll be my first blog. Yeah. So I did, and 7,000 people will see this. So it's good for him. It's certainly good for me because I want people to know I know what's happening. Because they're busy. They don't know what's happening.
Right.
They don't know when the models are going to go up.
Right.
They don't know what the prices are going to be, and I'm going to help them with that. So that's how you're a real estate resource.
See, this is this is an example here where you are selling credibility. You're saying, I know. Here, watch this. Mm-hmm. You're not saying the words, but you're saying, I know what I'm doing because you're showing them that you know what you're doing, and you're passing it on.
People know. I mean, when you're young and you don't know what you're doing, and that certainly was me. You've got to work harder.
Well, see, I tell people that the rules is real estate's this: you sell credibility, you manage information, and that to me, that's the way it sums down to me. So, what you're doing, you're out there saying, look to me, a person. I'm going to prove to you first that I'm worthy of doing business with.
Yeah,
you're really saying that up front.
Yeah.
look at what I know. Look at what I know. And you keep putting stuff like that in front of them. You've always been really good at publishing because you even send to me, I'm in your database, your updates on your market and stuff like that. And I think those little things really matter.
Well, these days, technology allows us to do it. It allows us to reach a lot of people, in a way we never could 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And you got to take advantage of what's out there.
And you're doing video is a big thing for you now? You're doing a good job with that?
It's something that I'm committed to doing. Yeah. So last year was especially valuable because, we're trying to figure out the whole COVID thing. I mean, what should be a terrible market and felt initially like it would be. I remember sitting in my office doing a video. It was the longest one I did. It was like 6 minutes. Looking at the camera saying, I'm going to keep you informed, and this may be a bit of a rocky ride. So I'm going to tell you, what's happening out there. 2 months later, I'm like, I don't quite know why this is happening, but we're about as busy as we can be, and here's how we're showing your houses, and here's what people are doing, and some people still won't let you in, but it isn't stopping transactions. 4 months after it, guys, I can't possibly explain it,
right.
But we just had the biggest month we've had in 10 years. And it makes no sense, but this is what's happening, and we think it's for these reasons. People are okay with the rules because we have very strict rules with COVID, and the money has become so cheap that it's driving the market. 6 months later, new demographic, new thing is happening. People from the cities are saying, I don't have to commute anymore. I can work remotely. I'm not going to live in Playa Vista. I'm not going to live in Santa Monica. I'm not going to live in Sherman Oaks. I'll move out to Santa Clarita. I'll get way better house for my money. I got better schools. I got a better quality of life. And oh, by the way, I'm going to do it for $500,000 less than I'm selling my house for. So woohoo, right? Yeah. And I'll get a bigger yard and I'll get a pool, right? So I had to report that to everybody because it was clearly happening. How do I know it was happening? I'm talking to people all day long.
Right. Yeah. I agree. I think you've got to be really, really deeply engaged. And I got to tell you, that's you've always been like that. And I've seen it. I've known it. I see, all the meetings that I've gone to, and you happen to be there. And you and I have talked a little bit about that. But I was always obsessed with information too and numbers. So much so, as example, that when I stopped selling and I gave up my farm to someone, before I would give up the farm, I would drive through the area and I would stop at any random house and I would say, what's the floor plan? Who's the builder? What year was it built? And tell me which elevation is it, reversed or normal elevation? And then it's a bonus point if you can tell me who lives there. And that's how obsessed I was with stuff.
That's pretty
How
obsessive.
many pools were in the neighborhood? How many tile roofs in those days in the neighborhood and stuff like that? I just believe that when you bury yourself in that level of detail, it oozes out of you by mistake.
That was your product, Roger.
Yeah.
You didn't have a warehouse full of cans. Right. You didn't have an auto dealership with a bunch of cars on it. You had a whole bunch of houses that you had the right to go sell. Either help somebody list it and sell it or help somebody buy it.
Right.
So you knowing that meant you knew your product better than your competition.
That's right.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's all houses are.
Yep.
And I would say to agents that cover gigantic areas that are, not a master of any one of them, that I think that's a mistake. I just think it's better that you have an area. I'm not necessarily talking about farming, but for me, it's primarily the Santa Clarita Valley. Right. I know the Santa Clarita Valley like the back of my hand. There's 270,000 people out there. There's 56,000 individual homes. That's a plenty of homes for me to work with. I don't know how many pools, but I would imagine it's about 15 to 18%.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Listen, I promised that I would not keep you too long, so I got two more questions.
All right.
First one is your plan on exiting.
Yeah.
You've made a lot of money.
I'm sure all the agents in Santa Clarita would love to hear this answer.
Yeah.
So I mean, look.
Maybe we shouldn't talk about that.
Well, no, I'm fine to talk about it. I think that what I'm going to be doing will be. I could be wrong, but it's happening, so I don't think I am. I think you're going to see people with my experience and my knowledge become more working on the business as opposed to in it. I'm still very much what I call a technician. I am studying the MLS every day. I am, going on listing appointments every week. I'm doing lead follow-up. I'm solving problems in escrow. I'm very much a full-time real estate agent.
Right.
I want to be a little bit more of a manager of the Neal Weichel Group and not the listing agent. I want to have 3-4 people under me that are all very capable, trained by me with my ethics and integrity and business philosophies and my scripts and dialogues, taking care of our customers. Then we'll be very successful.
I really see that happening. Stephen Owell's, Stephen, he's doing the same exact thing now. Colorado, he's positioned himself to do that.
Good.
And I really see things going back to old school, small. When I started, offices were 15 people. 16 people. And it was much closer relationship with that group. They knew what everyone else was doing. They would share prospect and a lot of things. And I really see a full circle kind of, in a way, with new modern twists and all that.
For me, that's it. There will always be a Neal Weichel group in the Santa Clarita Valley, and I'll always have involvement in it. It just won't be, the hours that I've invested at this point. There's other things I want to do and other, areas I want to explore.
Right. Well, do you have a good, funny story? Weird stuff? Something happened weird? We all have those little things.
I have so many. I'll tell you a quick one.
Okay.
Only because it just comes to mind. So, and this will illustrate, we were talking about waves and getting knocked down and rejection and all these things. So in my first 10 years, I worked with a lot of buyers. And I had a client, and this is a fun thing for me to reflect on now, because there was a lot of clients where they were when I met them at 29, 30, 31, today they're amazing. And I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I knock on this guy's door. He's an expired listing. And he says, yeah, Neal, the last agent couldn't sell it. This market stinks. It's 92 or 93. And he goes, I'd like to sell this home and get a larger one. I said, okay. I said, well, I can get the home sold for you. Why don't we talk about that? And so we do. And I sell it for him. His name's John. 30 years later, John just finished building a $14 million home in Crystal Cove, Newport Beach. We've been friends ever since. Everything he did in Santa Clarita, I handled. When his mom needed to sell her home and move down to be near him, obviously I handled it.
Right.
But the very first time I took John and his then wife out, I was showing him this area, which he bought in and became the president of the Homeowners Association after I sold his smaller home. This place called Hidden Valley. And they had this barrier that it was like a gate, but it was sunken. And if you drove over it without having the pass, it would come up and impale your car. No, I'm not kidding. Extremely violent. So I don't know if this is funny or embarrassing. Maybe a little bit. So I noticed that the thing is down, and I don't know, in my arrogant mind, I think, I can drive right over that. And I got him and his wife in the back seat, and I'm in the front seat. And it's the one day I borrowed my wife's car because my car is in the shop. I had a Lexus at the time. She's got this BMW. So I go driving it. Sure enough, this thing comes up out of the ground, impales the car. Bags go off. I'm wearing a watch. I shatter my watch. And here's my clients in the back seat. Smokes everywhere. Are you guys... So the point I'm making is this. We all do things that are stupid, that are embarrassing. I mean, the fact that he bought a home in this neighborhood still with me and became president of the HOA, that thing was disconnected after he became president, by the way. It just shows that if you just keep pushing, anything's possible.
Yep.
And it just shows that everybody falls on their face, everybody makes mistakes, everybody gets embarrassed, everybody does. But if you just keep pushing, right? If you just, if you're busy enough that those kinds of things you just move on from, you're going to be okay. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'd forgotten that even happened. But as soon as you said funny, for some reason it popped into my head. There's probably 100 more.
Sure.
Where I did something stupid or, I said something, that was inappropriate or whatever. You talk to thousands and thousands of people and you sell thousands of homes, you're going to do a lot of dumb stuff.
Yeah.
It's okay. We're all human beings. Nobody's perfect. It all comes out in the wash.
Yeah.
All right, that's it.
Well, so here's the thing. This is really, as I mentioned, about trying to, give people a chance to touch someone who's been great, and that's you, and you've done a great job of it, and I'm really proud of you. I've told you that 100 times, and I mean it.
Thanks.
Not that I had a lot to do with that. I'm just saying this to know that, that when I say proud, I'm really meaning that I feel like I'm proud that you are a real estate broker, because I think the industry needs people like you to help the real estate industry. Mm-hmm. And I hope that people watching you today will be influenced to some degree. And if so, it'll be a very positive thing for everybody. So
Thanks.
For your time, I really, really appreciate it. I know how precious it is to you. So
all right, Roger.
Thank you, sir.
You got it. Thank you.
You bet.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Ambitious Broker Podcast, where elite real estate professionals share their secrets to success, discuss topics impacting their industry, and gain professional development insights. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please rate it and leave a review.